All right, that probably fixed it. So, cool. Should be audio now. How can I? Very cool. Let me just make sure I share this places, and then I'll start. Audio now. How can I? All right, checking. Check. Okay, very cool. Let me just make sure I share this places, and then I'll start. Perfect. Thanks, bro. All right, check. Okay, very cool. Let me just make sure I share this places, and then I'll start. Boom, boom. Perfect. Thanks, bro. Yeah, the next one I'll have you a little more smooth. I haven't really done one of these since I got a new computer, so. Boom, boom. Perfect. Yeah, the next one I'll have you a little more smooth. I haven't really done one of these since I got a new computer, so. And I'm gonna share one more place. Yeah, the next one I'll have you a little more smooth. I haven't really done one of these since I got a new computer, so. And I'm gonna share one more place. What's up, dude? Welcome. All right, I think I'm good to start yapping. Just make sure. What's up, dude? Welcome. All right, I think I'm good to start yapping. All right, so cool. Basically, I have a team event coming up this weekend in Tennessee, where I'm playing with 8-man team up there. Um, it's called the Tennessee Elite Open or whatever. From what I understand, it's like an elite invite only thing. I'm playing with awesome team with Mark Perry and some other really cool guys from that area. We are really excited and we're hoping that we could, theoretically pull out a win. So I just thought I would talk about my list and sort of why I think it might be good and my pairings for some of the important matchups over the course of the event. So I'm just gonna basically yap like I would in a normal video, except you guys can ask me questions kind of live as I go, and we'll have a good time. And if anything goes weird with the stream or whatever, just let me know and I'll fix it. So Morgan, C10, yeah, honestly, so if they have like one or two, it's actually a lot worse than if they have like three or four, because if they have three or four of them, then they don't really have a bunch of other stuff, it seems like. So you probably could pull out like a decent score, like, like an 8, 9, or a 10, probably against like a lot of C10. But when they have like one and then a bunch of other feedback audio, let's see. Feedback audio. Do you have any browser open with your stream? I turned it off. Um, I don't know if it's still bad, but I did turn it off. Perfect. Cool. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah, I got a new computer, so I haven't streamed yet. So all right, so let's go look at my list first, and then I'll talk through that, and then I'll go through kind of just some circled matchups for pairing purposes, and how I am going to handle that. So I'm playing with a team called Southern Hostilities. Like I said, it's got Mark Perry and some other guys on there that you guys might know. Charles Barber. Fortunately, I don't remember all the names, but Bryce Bennett, a good friend of mine, also a very good player on the team. So we have a really good shot of winning the event, and that's our goal going up there to do it. So going through my list first, just because this is my channel, whatever. Talk about what I am going to be playing. So I am playing Warpbane. Hooray! My list name is He Who Comes Second Still Comes. Very cool name. I love the name. And let's move on to the actual list. So nothing really exciting about the list except for one thing toward the back end. But I do have Mr. Costello Crow, two Grandmaster Dread Knights. The way I built the list, you end up with like 20 points floating at the very end. So you end up with a Nemesis Dread Knight with the OC3 enhancement. So it's like a OC7 Dread Knight, which is definitely cool for like rapid ingress onto an objective if your opponent's like about to charge there or something. It's kind of a cool uses there, but for the most part, it's really just because I have extra points. If I didn't, I didn't have the points, I don't really care about that enhancement. And the other Nemesis Dread Knight, obviously, he's just good firing support. They are just there to shoot stuff and kill it. Two strike squad with all melee. So the main purpose for this is so that you have the double scout play set up. I don't double scout every single game, but I always scout at least one every single game. So it's kind of matchup and board dependent. Generally, I'll double scout on like search and destroy layouts and things like that. A lot of the times, I'll double scout on layout one. And yes, but then if I'm not double scouting, I'll have like an interceptor squad inside of one of these Razorbacks so they can go 15 inches and do useful stuff on the early turns of the game. The double Razorback, my favorite little guys, and with twin last cannons, hunter killers. So two of them each. For those who don't know, Warpbane, you reroll ones all the time, and you full roll to hit if you are in hollow ground, which is controlling like half of the table. So basically, a Razorback has got a last cannon that's full rolls to hit and full rolls to wound, and a hunter killer that's full rolls to hit and doesn't roll to wound. But Razorbacks can definitely do some really good early game chip damage or kill like something annoying from across the map with the last cannons. Great at win games, yes. I think they certainly can. I think Warpbane is kind of the way to go though. For that, Banishers is really fun as well. So I will definitely be testing out Banishers a bit more after I finish this event. How do I switch taxes to the RS? Haven't done it for 12 years, and I'm scared. Well, you just don't do it. Just don't do it, bro. They'll never catch you, I don't think. If in fact, if you've never filed taxes, how do you know they're? How do they know you're real? That's the real question. That's the question, bro. So think about that. Also, bankruptcy, right, Morgan? Just declare bankruptcy, dude. Anyways, um, other parts of the list. So I think this is like a very, very important piece of the list is the 2-man 5 interceptors. Basically, their goal, they have a side cannon as well. Their goal is to basically not die for as long as possible while still doing stuff. So what that means is like a grenade fire and fade to clear off an objective. Are they can push out as rapid ingress and then fire and fade back into a Razorback. They just have so much utility over the course of a game that I try and keep these two 5-mans alive until like at least turn 2 or turn 3, depending on the game. And I find that my win rate, if I have these two units alive that long, is probably in the 90s, frankly, just because they have so much things that they impact the game on early, right? And if you're not playing interceptors and you guys aren't sure like how to use them or whatnot, I've got a bunch of videos discussing it, and they really help. They really help our game plan, especially early games. And the blocking and rapid ingress is like what I do almost every turn I play with them. In every game I play, my opponent has something off the table. So what that means, if you guys aren't sure what I'm talking about, is they get to fly 12 or fly 15 rather out of the Razorback. Then you could theoretically like move the Razorback up behind them behind a wall, and then as long as you are within 9 inches of that Razorback, the movement phase ends, right? And then your opponent has the opportunity to rapid ingress while the interceptors are still like pushing out that screen. Then that rapid ingress window passes, and you go to the shooting phase where you shoot them, and then they get to go all the way back into the Razorback behind a wall very safely. You effectively push out a rapid ingress way further, and if you do that like 2 or 3 times, then all of a sudden your opponent's rapid ingress is completely neutralized, and you are in a really happy spot, and you don't lose the unit the whole time, which is one of the most important parts of what I'm talking about here. So moving on, I've got a 10-man Terrifier unit. This is almost always who I put Crow with. Now, there are situations where I like Crow with the 5-man with the side cannon, because then you've got two separate sort of firing decks instead of just one huge platform. So if you're not sure when to plug in Crow in the 5-man or plug in Crow into the 10-man, really all it comes down to is, does your opponent have a melee brick that is durable enough to take a fully purifier unit shooting? Like a Khorne Berserker unit is a good example, right? Like a Terminator unit, But if you're against something like Orcs or GSC or something kind of small, it's actually better to have Crow with the 5-man with the Razorback buff, so that way he can kind of clean up multiple. You can clean up multiple things with your 10-man Purifier and your little 5-man with Crow. And the 10-man has 4 silencers. Yes, silencers. They are how I prefer to play the game with this unit, and I think the silencers are awesome. So I've discussed it in some videos, but I may as well. Hold on a second. Aha, cool. I made something a little more efficient over here. So yes, basically the silencer crow unit. What it does. So silencers are, if you guys don't know, it's 6 shots a piece. So it's 24 shots from 4 guys, and the purifying flame from those guys. So that means each guy has basically 8 shots coming out of him with the silencer, right? So silencer is 24 shots with sustained. It's sustained hits, precision, and strength 5. All of those make them absolutely shred T4 things. It doesn't really matter what their save is, frankly. If it's a 2 plus, it's a little more annoying. But the good news is we've got AP2 ignore cover shots coming in right behind it. So silencers shoot 24 shots. You end up with like 24 to 28 hits on average with your full rolls to hit and your sustained hits. You know, there was a game where I shot 31. I ended up with like 31 hits with my silencer, and then like with full rolling to wound on threes, I ended up with like 29 saves on like a 10-man Hellblaster unit or whatever, and I killed like 5 or 6 of them with just the silencers only before I even got to like the Stormbolters and stuff. I think the AP0 is very, very much like, I don't know the word, but everybody is very scared of the silencer thing or whatever. Oh shoot! Look, was 20 objective secured memberships? That's crazy. Is that Dustin? Bro, you're way too nice to me, bro. Thank you. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who I guess just got gifted that, holy cow! Thanks, bro. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Growing up, I feel like I'm a big time streamer getting stuff, but everyone thank Dustin for that. Thanks, bro. You guys get like a cool emoji. You guys get a cool emoji for that, and I'm working on adding some other cool, fun perks. However, my goal is to not, paywall any content, so it's really gonna all be fun, aesthetic stuff for the membership. But thank you, Dustin. That's crazy, bro. I really appreciate that. Um, I got distracted on my silencer talk. But yes, they're very good. If you guys haven't tried them, don't just listen to someone else tell you that they're bad. I promise I've played a lot of games with them at this point, and they are my de facto preferred choice for this unit. Yeah, but yeah, that's crazy, Dustin. You're awesome, bro. That's great. So anyone who picked up that membership, you got a fun emoji, and like I said, I'm gonna add more stuff, more in the future. So, yep. And then I'll talk more about the Crow unit, how I'm going to use it, and all these matchups as I go through sort of my matrix. But next is a 5-man Purifier unit. Notably, this one has 2 Psy Cannons. And that's right after I just was like talking about how silencers are amazing. But that's because there's only 2 of them. So you want to go for more spike potential when you have 2 Psy Cannons at the 1 damage, or 2 damage rather. So you just play those because these guys are generally going to be in the Storm Raven, which is going to be shoving up, and you want to have a gun on this unit. Incinerators piss me off, and I don't think 2 silencers is frankly enough for what we want this unit to do. So I just ride with it with the 2 side cannons. And then lastly, I've got a 5-man Purifier unit, all melee. So the purpose behind having one of them be all melee is because um, no, I don't fish for 6s generally. So it's actually worse. It's like the same math if you fish for 6s as if you don't. Um, like yeah, if that makes sense. The only time you mathematically it makes sense to fish is if you're sustained 2 or you are crit 5s or like lethals or whatever. Um, what is that? Discord? You can have a Heck yeah, dude. So yeah, I don't really fish. I don't really fish unless I have lethals, but most of the time you just want to let it ride. Like I said, it averages anywhere from like 4 to 8 sustained hits on just like normal shooting, so it ends up being good. I don't precision that often unless it's into like a fights first or like a GSC or a weak little character, right? Um, is that my Discord? There's a 9.99. I didn't know that. Or someone's Discord. Anyways, the 5-man melee is there because I have a play that I do with the Storm Raven where the Storm Raven flies 20 inches. The 5-man with the 2 side cannons disembarks from the Storm Raven. Then you spend 1 CP and you get to 6-inch deep strike on top of that unit that just flew out of the Storm Raven. So basically, we went 20, right? Then we disembark 3, so now 23 inches, and then we disembark 6, or then we deep strike within 6. If there's a appropriate hole there, we basically just delivered a purifier unit to 29 inches across the table that's going to be able to charge. So a lot of times what I'll do is if my opponent doesn't have a a crazy gun platform that can actually kill a Storm Raven, I'll just stage it unbelievably aggressively. And then it's projecting this huge threat range for the whole game. And as soon as my opponent leaves a hole open for that play to be impactful, we go after it. So it ends up being Storm Raven shots, 5-man purifier with two side cannon shots, and then another 5-man purifier unit shooting and charging out of the thing. And you're taking up incredible board space with that play to where now your NDKs and your Crow unit are basically able to support them from even further back, and it ends up being a really, really powerful play. Every single time I have that play stick, I basically win the game. However, against better players, the Storm Raven just kind of projects a huge threat and the threat of that play. And once you find an opening, you just go for it. And Storm Raven itself is really good. What's up, Matt? Thank you. New to Grey Knights, coming from World Eaters, learning a lot. Yeah, World Eaters is one of my favorite armies to play against as Grey Knights, actually. It's a really fun skill matchup. I'm not saying it's like easy or anything, but it's definitely one of my favorite ways to play against. So having World Eaters and Grey Knights in your belt, it's good. It's shooting and melee, baby. That's all we need. And then lastly, in the list is a Storm Raven. Um, Yeah, yeah. I start the 5-man and interceptor in the Storm Raven usually, so the interceptor gets like a 15-inch move out to like go play the game early. But yeah, I start side cannon 5-man in the Raven, so that way you can project that like big delivery for the Storm Raven. Yeah, yeah, it's very strong. Every single time I've done it, I just win. Similar to teams, but I've been having a single librarian over tonight. Yeah, I mean it's fine. I think the Storm Raven has kind of been un untested in like big events, basically. So I think if you have this like similar like if you have this similar list with like swapping the Storm Raven for a librarian and another Dread Knight, I think that's totally fine. I don't my only the only reason I added the Storm Raven was because if somebody's like behind, so let me go a little rant here. The reason I added the Storm Raven, my buddy Bryce actually was discussing it with me, and I think that like one of our biggest issues as a faction is like if we go first and our opponent like wants to camp behind walls and not come play the game because they're going second and just go for like a big bottom turn win, we just like don't really have a lot of tools to go catch them behind the wall. So by adding a Storm Raven into the list with the play that I was just talking about, it like basically puts them on a clock that says like, hey, look, you're not allowed to sit behind this wall because if you sit behind this wall like too long, I'm just gonna fly. I'm gonna fly 20 inches and catch a line into the wall and like kill you, right? And then all of a sudden, like you just get hit first. And hitting first has been an issue with this faction since I have been playing it, and I think that the Storm Raven solves a lot of that. So, um, dude, honestly, Renegade, I have been like I do a lot of coaching for Banishers, not so much for Warbane. And every time I coach Banishers, I'm like, oh, Banishers is so much fun. It's so much cooler. So honestly, after this event, I think I'm gonna really, really dig in and see what I can do to make Banishers work. Right, yeah. So the Storm Raven is full rules hit and wound basically, because all of its guns are twin linked except the big cannon. So the Storm Raven is basically full rolls hit and wound with all of its guns, except one. Because the plasma cannon is twin linked, the melty melt is twin linked, and the hurricane boulder is twin linked. And then you've got two shots at D6 plus two damage that are not twin linked, but you could spend one CP and roll ones or whatever to wound with it as well, if you really need to kill the target. So cool. Before I get off the list here, does anyone have? I guess does anyone have any questions about? Yeah, so the Storm Raven is like low key Lycus. It's like it does a very similar play to what Lycus does for Eldar, except it's like gigantic. It's obviously worse than Lycus. Let's be clear, but the mentality of it existing is very similar to Lycus, where it can like go do whatever it wants, and at most points in the game. So, yeah. So that's it for the list. I'm gonna go through some of the matrices that I have for this event. I'm gonna talk about some matchups, how I'm gonna approach them, and kind of the score I'm hoping to get. So here we go. Basically, if you guys don't know, a 10, basically a 10 on the yeah. So a 10 means that I won or lost the game within 5 points, or within 6 points rather, and then any interval above that is basically winning by 6 or more points. So if I say something like, yeah, I think I'll win this 15-5, that means that 15-5. That basically means that I'm going to win the game by 21 or 21, basically, if you guys weren't familiar. So I'm going to go, let me pull up my matrix list and we're going to go through those matchups. So my captain had us circle some teams and go through the matrices for it. So the first team, let's see, can I like slide this right here? Is it like in the way? So, all right, cool. So we have XPZ as the first team. I'm not familiar with these guys. However, I'm just going to go through the matchups here. My final thoughts on the Breacher unit is that I kind of came to the conclusion that I can't play everything that I want and the Storm Raven and the Breacher unit. So just because I'm on this Storm Raven test kick right now, so basically I had to choose between the Storm Raven and the Breachers, and I just picked the Storm Raven. However, I think the Breachers are incredibly good. However, the way I wanted to play this list, I didn't have the points for it. But I think the unit's very strong, and I think when I'm playing Banishers, I will be playing a Road Trader Entourage in Banishers because you don't have to spend as much tax on Dread Knights in Banishers. But it's very good. It's very good. I would give that unit like an 8.5 out of 10 in terms of usefulness. Okay, so this is over here is my matrix. I'm going to go through and we talk about it. I'm not going to discuss the Grey Knight matchup. It's just the Grey Knight mirror is lame. I'm not going to talk about that. So we're going to start with oops, the Death Guard matchup here. So this is one of the matchups that I think Warpbane is honestly favorable some extent. Basically, any Death Guard matchup with the Storm Raven specifically, you're going to be able to hit them first. You're going to use your early turns to kill the Poxwalkers, and then once the Poxwalkers are done, you're able to basically deep strike and hit them first in most different scenarios. As long as you don't play like a dummy, you will not really get murdered by the 6-inch deep strike from the Death Shroud. Just be really mindful at every turn. You only have to care about it for 2 turns of the game because they have to come in on turn 3, right? But yeah. And yes, RTEB, dude, is awesome. Trust me, yeah. Yeah, I mean, two in Banishers is fine. Like, really, you just kind of swap the Raven around, and then, the list I have translates to Banishers pretty well. But Banishers, like I said, I'll be making a lot more content on Banishers probably after this event because I'm a big fan of Banishers. It's so much fun. So Death Guard, this guy, he has the Demon Prince. This one's got the 5 of Feel No Pain. And for you guys to know, this detachment is the -1 damage detachment. So it does, it's kind of annoying for the Dread Knight sometimes, but for the most part, your damage like damage 1 with the Purifiers. So that's like fine. And they can't just spam -1 damage all over the place because it's 2 CP. So the notable thing about this list is it has 2 6-man Death Shroud Terminators, not the normal 3-man. So all that means is that his turn, basically turn 1, you can go really, really, really aggressive here, assuming he starts them off the table. So like you can be really aggressive turn 1 if you go first, and then turn 2 you can be really, really aggressive again, and then you just take a hit from the Death Shroud, and then by that point you'll have really good control over the table. So I put this down as a 11 for me, just because the Death Shroud is a lot of beef to you kind of chew through. They're 4 wounds, so like my profiles don't hit them that well. But um, also note when you do matrices, you should be very conservative, right? It's way worse to like go tell your captain, hey, look, I'm gonna get a 19 because my ego is huge, whatever, right? Versus like, hey, I'm gonna get a 13 or a 14 in this matchup, and then you come back with like a 16. That goes a lot further. One sec, my dog is barking. Hey, stop. So yeah, if you guys ever on a team and your captain or whoever is like, hey, make a matrix, I encourage you to be very conservative on your matrix because it's a lot easier to pair on conservative pairings than kind of ego pairings, right? Like, do I think if I beat this, it's going to be an 11? Like, I don't know, but like, I'd much rather say it's going to be 11 and come back with like a 13 or a 14 because it's very realistic things could go poorly in this matchup, right? So just keep that in mind as you guys talk to your captains about it. But overall, I think this is good. I like Liam going to win this round if I was to get this pairing. All right, next is Chaos Knights. Basically, every Chaos Knight player in this event played this list in some capacity, like triple or double to spoiler, which is kind of cringe, but it is what it is. I um, put this down as a 6, which I would say is honestly, I could probably pull out an 8 or a 10 depending on the layout, but I just put a 6 in because I just don't have any resources to effectively kill these despoilers. Now, if I was to have a really cool, really good, yeah, correct, recon. If you like just don't know the matchup, ask someone who maybe plays the army, like how they feel about your, like how would they matrix you, and that can help you with your matrix as well, that way. But for the most part, like you'll find that I think Grey Knights are in that like 8 to 12 range in a lot of matchups, except for a few. So you can be really comfortable with playing against a lot of things. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. One sec. The dog is stressed out. Hold on. Hey, come here. Come on. Hey, stop, please. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm back. Sorry. All right. Cool. Yeah. So I put a 6 into the spoiler stuff just because I'm scared of this matchup and I can't kill it. So that combination of stuff leads to a low score. I'm not really going to discuss it because it's lame. Um, this one's pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm in sweatpants. I'm like not doing much today. Um, okay, so the Tau matchup gets a little funky depending on kind of what they're playing. So I generally put Tau as like pretty even in a lot of things. Like I have this as a 10, for example, in my pairing. Like I think that I'm likely going to win. However, I'm just not sure by what score. It gets kind of stressful because he's got like a lot of stuff to screen with. Like if we're looking here, so he's got basically one, two, three, four, five, six, uh, um, 7 different things he can like screen really well with here. So I've got to chew through that before I'm really going to be able to get access to these hammerheads and broadsides and stuff. So if I handle that correctly and it goes really well for me on the dice, and I can drop in Dread Knights to blow up these Riptides and stuff, I think it'll end up being okay. But this matchup can be really uncomfortable sometimes. So I have it as a 10. Orcs, I believe I put this pretty high. So I put orcs as a 16. It's actually putting orcs as a 16. That is like probably that's my highest one for the event. So orcs is my number one. Orcs is my other army that I play. So I'm really comfortable with what it's trying to do. And number two, it's essentially call it what it is. Like it's basically a slow melee army that we kill really easily, right? And that's like just a combination for having a really good game. Do I want to go first, second, is how I probably want to go first in most matchups there, so that way I can kill some of the early infiltrating stuff and get stage with my rhinos and things like that, so I can go do some cool stuff. I've actually found that I like to go first a lot lately, especially with the Storm Raven in my list, because you can get into some really cool spots and project like some good threat. Also, it basically takes like 3 Riptides to kill a Storm Raven unless they roll really hot, so that's also something that matters. But orcs, again, slow, basically a medium fast melee army with bad saves that you can kill. You know what I mean? Like this guy's list, I don't think is bad at all. He's playing Green Tide, which is one of my favorite ways that I used to play orcs at team events. But it's, Gaz, Stickrot, Pain Boy with this basically says that they are always 10 or higher. So they have a 5 invulnerable save everywhere. However, he's gotten basically 0 guns besides these 2 little flash get units. So you can essentially just keep killing him from max range and you'll eventually just win the game here. I have it as a 16. And frankly, I think it can go all the way up to a 20, depending on how well he screens here. But I'm really comfortable with that matchup. Tyranids. This specific Tyranid matchup I have down as a 14. This is Vanguard Onslaught, so it's like the stealthy one. I think this one can like advance and charge with some guys. But I have this down as a 14, which is a good score for me. Now, some versions of Tyranids are not as good in terms of score differential, but this one I would say is going to have a good opportunity for me because look, he's got 30 gargoyles. Um, Interceptors kill gargoyles like instantly with their storm bolters and shooting, right? He's got 30 gene stealers, so like this is really easy for like Crow and my purifier 5 mans to handle. He does have two Terran effects, which is kind of scary for the Storm Raven, but if I just position accordingly, I can definitely mitigate these Terran effects pretty quickly because he'll be out of screens like instantly because the interceptors can just go dominate this game basically. Um, and the Zornthropes are also do some damage here, but again, if I can just be intelligent and not get blasted by these 3 units on one of my key units, I can go a long way, and this can be a good win for me. This one, guard, I have this guard matchup down as a 7, just because, again, I want to be really conservative. I do not like playing in the guard that much. It becomes, like, very, very uncomfortable. However, his list is solid. It's, just a bunch of trash like usual. So we got two command squad, two Tempestus command squads. So that means he's got Scions in his list, which they do a lot of interesting stuff. Cadian, whatever, screening. Three Rough Riders, they don't really do that much into us. I'm okay with this unit. I'm happy to blow it up. Triple Vanquisher is like weirdly not as good into. Yeah, the Vanquishers are weirdly not that great into Dread Knights because like it's one shot on their gun and we just roll a 4+ and then we re-roll it with the CP, right? So they don't generally do too much into a Dread Knight. The Ogrins, they'll die instantly. The Dorans are what we're really scared of here. A good guard player is never gonna like let us get access to these Dorns, so they're just gonna be able to shoot us. And Dorns will kill Dread Knights. They will kill everything that we have. So Dorns are very very scary. So again, I put this down as a 7. Do I think that under the right conditions, I can win this? Absolutely, I can win this. However, I'm going to tell my captain like, hey, look, I think a 7 is probably my worst case scenario here because 7 means I lost the game by 17 points, which is frankly kind of a lot. So yeah, and yes, Zonthrop's range is another thing for us. If they're close enough to shoot us, we get to shoot them. And with the Storm Raven speed, we can basically always catch them first, basically. Storm Raven in that matchup is really good. Frankly, Storm Raven in a lot of these matchups is very useful. And then Space Wolves, I put this down as a 12 win for me, so that means that I think that I would win this by 11 or more, basically. So it's just pretty standard Space Wolves, Stormlance, so they can all advance and charge, whatever. Nothing like super interesting here. Bjorn, LT, Logan, Wolf Priest. The thing that I'm circling here is this 10-man Wolfguard Terminator unit. That's very scary for us. Basically, if they drop that in turn one, we have to line up both Dread Knights, Crow, and the Storm Raven to kill this unit, and it's very possible that you do kill it for what it's worth. It's just if they're really aggressive with everything at once, it's very difficult for us to kill everything at the same time. However, what you would do is basically, if he wants to drop this in, we can use our interceptors to move block a lot of this other stuff and basically buy us a turn to like go shoot and kind of clean up. Yeah, yep. Yeah, so like you can like so like say for example they like turn one, they go first, they all in us with 10 Terminators, 6 Wolf Guard, everything's like standing in the middle of the table or whatever, right? It, what a mistake that I see a lot is like the Granite player will try and like focus everything in a quarter and just ignore everything else. But we've got to intercept units that basically move 21 inches, right? Because of the getting out of a transport with fire and fade. So that means that essentially we can move block a lot of these other threats that we're really scared of while we focus down one of these big bricks. And again, you can do the same thing with the Terminators, right? You could like wrap them with interceptors and move block them completely, and then use your Dread Knights and Crow to like take care of like this stuff and the Storm Raven or whatever. And then since the Terminators move so slow, you can basically be on the other side of the table, and then kill whatever you need to do on that side. And then when the game is more under control, then you flip the table back over and go shoot the Terminators kind of the next turn. It's kind of essentially exactly what I showcased in that dealing with pressure video I did a couple days ago. But this, I would say, for someone inexperienced, is actually a very, very scary and difficult matchup. But for me, how often I've played against this style of list, I actually am really comfortable. Actually, I'm really comfortable going into this. So I have down as a 12. I think it's a very manageable game. I mean, that's really it for XPZ. Let's see. Well, other teams on. So talk about Pro Tabletop. They're a really good team. Technically, I am on Pro Tabletop, by the way. I am technically a member of that team, but I haven't really talked with them or played with them really too much. So I don't really, I don't, but technically I am. I have a jersey, you know. But anyways, um, this team was a team that we also circled for the event in terms of getting preparation for and looking at the list. So I have three bad pairings in this matchup, or in this. I have three bad pairings here: guard, knights, and chaos knights. Everything else here, I think I handle pretty well. So Dustin, actually, the guy who just gifted all those all those subs or whatever, he's that. Yeah, guys, that sure is a knight list. Look at that. One, two, three, four, five big knights. End of list. I don't even have to scroll. Um, So his list is double Atropos, triple Lancer. End of list. I hate it. I can never beat this in my whole life, but he's been doing really well with it. So, you know, it is what it is. Three, triple Lancer, double Atropos. There's not much to say about it. It's very scary, and I can't beat it. That's for sure. I put it down as a 2. I put it down as a 2, and frankly, that might be a little bit generous. Um, yeah, it's a very interesting list. Then, that yeah, I mean, I technically did, I suppose, but I had a lot more objectives to score. Um, but and I had bottom turn, so yeah, I mean, like I guess if I go second and like can survive long enough, I think maybe I could pull out a win. Yeah, I suppose. I haven't actually played against that many Lancers before. It just sounds it just sounds kind of like a nightmare. It just sounds like terrifying. That's like what is it? 28 28, 56. It's like 70, 72 wounds worth of Lancers that have a 4 up and vulnerable. So that means that like you've got to hand them 140 saves or something to kill him, right? Because he saves half of them. That's it's pretty freaking nuts. However, I can maybe focus one down and get lucky, but it's still very scary. Um, Death Guard. This is a matchup here I have down as kind of favorable for me. I have this down as a 14. This is one of my highest ones in the team here. Basically, his list is the same -1 damage one as earlier, except it's just a ton of 5-man Plague Marines. He's running Questoris, I think. Questoris Companions. That one gives you like all the oaths or whatever, and you have like access to like fallback and do stuff, which is really cool. And I think that it has a 6 up female pain too, which is like very scary. Again, that's like, no, I don't want to play that, sir. But yeah, the Death Guard list is one, two, three, four, five. It's five MSU Plague Marine units with double Rhino, triple Predator Destructor, and then triple Bloat Drone. I think this matchup ends up being fine. I just use my early guns to kill the Destructors and the Poxwalkers, and then once there's an opening, I just kill like every Plague Marine left. Again, that might not play out exactly how I'm imagining it, but I think that this matchup ends up being pretty comfortable for me to run into. Um, so I have this on as a 14, just because Grey Knights do kill Death Guard bodies pretty efficiently with the anti-infantry 2 plus. You kind of negate the toughness. Dread Knight guns are strength 10, so you're winning the drones on threes. The Storm Raven has just a crazy amount of cool vehicle killing guns here. Like I can pop rhinos. There's a lot of cool stuff that I could do. So I had this on as a 14. Just play back, kill the screens, and this should be I think a pretty comfortable game. Chaos Science is the same list as before. I have it down as a 6. No, I think they should be. I think 3 wounds is perfect. 3 wounds is how I'd like to say gettable. um, but no more cursed Vitrix running around with a 4 wound break point. Sorry. Um, next, Thousand Suns. So he's playing Grand Coven, so automatically that makes this matchup like annoying. However, his list specifically is very beatable for me. You know what I mean? He's got like Rubric Marines, Magnus the Red, so I'm definitely going to be able to mix the game up and kill all of his trash pretty efficiently, in my opinion, as long as I don't make any huge mistakes. I have this down as a 14. That actually might be a little bit generous, frankly. Or I have it down as a 12. That makes more sense. Yeah, I have it down as a 12. I think that's very achievable. I played against a Grand Covenant list. I got a 13-7 against it recently. And I think that guy might be better than who this person is, Noah. So I am not too worried about that. They might be equal. I don't actually know who this person is, but who I played, I think was pretty good. So it ends up being pretty cool. When you guys play against Thousand Suns, by the way, the Storm Raven becomes really useful because none of its guns are psychic, so they can't feel no pain the damage there. And also, like, don't be afraid to not shoot like purifying flames or psychic guns into like 5-man rubric marines. You don't have to mag dump those units, right? Like stormbolters, like crow's stormbolters is like enough to basically kill a 5-man in a lot of scenarios. So don't feel like you got to go kill yourself with a bunch of hazardous checks against it. Next one is Admech. I have this down as a as a 10. Admech is just Admech. Nothing super interesting. Hallows Creed, I don't actually know too much about Hallows Creed does. I just know that Admech don't lose by a lot of points when they play, so we've definitely got a lot of resources here to kill them. He's got triple disintegrator and triple or double suit here. So as long as I kill the trash and get good screens or good deep strikes in, I think I'll be okay here because I can kill the Iron Strider units basically whenever I want. And since there's not nearly as much stealth in this detachment, I will be hitting very efficiently with my Warp Bane guns. So I had that down as a 10. It's a silencer. If it, yeah, that's how I pronounce it, silencer. If anyone was curious, that is how they say it. Stephen Mitchell, he's a good player. I know of him. He's usually on some really good teams at these events. Normally he's playing Blood Angels though, so is what it is. He's playing Renegade Raiders. I put this matchup down as a 12 for me, just because Renegade Raiders I think I kill really efficiently, and a lot of his early game stuff isn't that good, and he is like loaded on hulls, like tons of hulls here. So if I can kill the screens have the Storm Raven available to go kill some stuff, I definitely think I can make some noise in this matchup and pull out a nice win. Just make sure I'm not on objectives too often, so his little vehicles don't get +1 AP. And I think this matchup ends up being pretty comfortable. And then T Bird, Thomas Bird, he's playing Blades of Ultramar Space Marines. Really good Ultramarines player. Very fun opponent. Really great guy in general. He's playing kind of, I imagine, some amount of Vitrix guards, a double ballistas, 6-man scepter with the bolters. That's kind of scary. They do a lot of damage. Infiltrator, stern guard, and then yeah, okay, 12 Vitrix guard. I wonder if this one was supposed to have all the fun stuff, but obviously, if it's supposed to have it, I'll let him have it. I actually put this down as a 14 for me. Just because I think this matchup is pretty manageable the way that it is constructed here specifically with this list. I mean, I have a lot of ways to get rid of his early game screens, and ballistices don't actually kill my stuff that efficiently. So as long as I can handle the Vitrix with Crow and whatever amount of Dread Knights, I think that matchup ends up being pretty good. So again, I have that down as a 14. With him being as good of a player as he is, I probably should have it down as a 12 or 10. But my gut instinct here is that this matchup is not something that he would want. Only one squad of the Vitchers can be upgraded. Hmm, did not know that. Interesting. Well, do you guys? Is there any lists here? Any armies that you want me to find and talk about the matchup? If anyone's actually watching, I mean, there's 15 people here, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, is there any matchups you want me to find here and talk about, or you just want me to go through the pairings? Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Oh no, yeah, the silencers definitely are not shooting Calgar. And yeah, they're not that efficient at that, but because the Uriel or whatever, you can they're if they're 3+ saves, you just can hand them like a ton. You hand them like 27 saves. Um, Votan, how's the Votan matchup? So Votan is interesting. Um, Votan I've found is relative to how many Hekaton land fortresses they have. So I have one of the teams at Votan. Let's go take a look. Yeah, I'll do Necrons and Custodes right after this one. Who had the Votan? Somebody had the Votan. There it is, Votan, Midnight Mongoose. So I had Votan down as a 12 win for me. The main reason was he only had one Hecaton land fortress. So when they only have one Hecaton, that means that like all of a sudden all of my guns are just super efficient into shooting them. So he's playing the Gramis attachment, Hearthband, I believe, which gives them +1 AP against the closest target. It doesn't work on Overwatch like the way it used to. Has to be true closest target on Overwatch, but he's got three little transports. One of these kill everything units. One of the indirect, and he's going really heavy on the Terminators, which is another reason I put this matchup as a bit more favorable for me because I think that I can handle Terminator bodies really well, especially slow-moving Terminator bodies that I can shoot to death with Crow. Then the one Hecaton Land Fortress is kind of really, really what sealed this for me to like say it's like a better matchup is because my Dread Knight will most likely kill it in melee, or there's only one, so like I can basically ignore it and just kind of score points and kill everything else until it's like the last thing left. And that is probably the method I would go with. Like my early turns, I'm gonna try and maybe snipe out a Segator or a Carrier while killing these early easy screens like the Pioneers and the Jaegers. And then as soon as the game opens up, I'm gonna try and drop in a Dread Knight and catch the land fort, basically. But yeah, just be careful of the hackathons. If there's two of them, it's still fine. Just don't get shot to death by them. Make sure you always have cover. Necron matchup. So I think the Necron matchup it relies wildly on like the amount of C-tans or like weirdly cringe durable stuff. I think Awakened is really manageable because Crow can annihilate a Wraith Brick. So if you line up like Crow and then a charge with something else, you can almost always kill a Wraith Brick. And then once you kill a Wraith Brick on like whatever flank of the table, you end up in really good shape. And with the silencers that we have access to, right, with the Crow unit, we're able to, if our opponent like puts the Feel No Pain guy out or whatever, we can just silencer him to death, and that it makes that unit much weaker because they'll lose the Feel No Pain, right? So Necrons, I think I have down as like a 10 to 12 in most cases, just because they have a really hard time pushing a bunch of differential into what I'm doing. But I am on like a clock to kill them. So I think bottom turn it's like a 12, top turn it's like a 10. That's basically how I've kind of looked at that matchup. And then basically that means you would put your matrix as a 10 because you want to always give your captain like worst case scenario. Custodes I think is a really easy matchup if it's like more standard custodes. Um, Yeah, I mean, like that type of list is kind of cringe. I mean, DDAs I think are toughness 10, so like your Dread Knights can kind of kill them efficiently. But yeah, that like type of list is one where you're just playing to score points, right? And hopefully you don't get caught to death like with the DDAs or the Heroes ones with the DDAs. So custode matchup, I think if they're not playing Solar Spearhead, I think it's actually very, 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 very favorable for Grey Knights. Um, it's a super slow moving melee army. Essentially, they have like damage two guns, right? But they're AP one, so you're in cover, so they're not really going to be that efficient into you. But if they're playing like normal custodes, like with 10 or 5 or 10 wardens and like other stuff, I think that matchup is like really manageable. You just shoot them from max range and move block them accordingly, and then eventually they will just be dead, and then that's the end of it. Dread Knights pick up whole models with the 3 damage, so it's fine. Like I think I like that matchup a lot. They also don't have access to ALC, which means Dread Knights are just hitting with full rolls and then hand them wounds, and then every wound they fail is a dead guy, which is bad. You know what I mean? But yeah, Solar Spearhead a little different because the Telemons are kind of a bitch to kill. So you just need to be more careful what you're doing. And then with against the Telemons, like you want to get the table, you want to like isolate sides of the table. So like you don't want to don't ever play in the middle. It's kind of a Grey Knight thing in general. I don't ever like to play in the middle of the table. The only time I ever put a unit in the middle is to score area denial, basically, or if like my opponent puts something in the middle that I can't kill immediately, I just need to out OC it. I'll put like interceptors over there or whatever. But yeah, I never try and hold the middle with anything. That's just a waste of time. It's just losing a unit for free, basically, until the end of the game, rather. And yeah, and that's why you play the one Minotaur and Priest with 40 points, right? He's just my guy who goes and runs to the middle and kills himself for area denial. Honestly, as that was a very very good little piece of tech I was using him for. He can run in the middle for like Locust. He can run into the middle for like secure area or secure no man's land. Like he has a lot of really random useful purposes. Like as a 40 point model that I don't mind like chucking him in the middle and dying for, which is very cool. Um, okay, let's see. That's kind of really, I mean, like I can talk about lists forever, but it's kind of all I really wanted to discuss in terms of this event. Uh, there's a couple of there's definitely some really respectable teams here, but you guys saw the gist of like what my head is looking at for pairings and things like that. So number one is like how fast is it, how lethal is it, and how well can I kill it? That's kind of like my personal checklist on how good I think a matchup will be. And when will we see a Caldas come back to list? Uh, I don't hate it. I don't hate a Caldas. I just 100 points for that little thing when I already can barely play my army normally is it's kind of a lot. Like I'd rather have a Razorback in most scenarios over a Caldas, right? Like if we look at my list again, right? Let's like talk about why a Caldas kind of scares me, right? Where is my list? Southern hostility. So when uh yeah, so like in terms of a Calidus, right? Like most cuttable things for a Calidus is like the Strike Squad and a Razorback, and both of those are really really important for like what I'm trying to do. And I won't. I told my captain I was like, hey, that's impossible that I compared it to this, so I don't think that I will. Um, Against Death Guard, do you try to take out Terminators or just run for them after they drop down? The simple and short answer is if they drop down and run onto an objective, you have to kill them. If they drop down and do not go to an objective, you do not have to touch them. That is basically my mental checklist for it. Like if the Destro drop in 6 away and charge something and then end that move or whatever, and they're not on an objective, They're so slow. You literally can ignore them for a whole turn, and they won't get to anything else that matters in your list. So if they drop in and charge onto an objective and take the objective from you, that's when you have to actually address them. Because if you don't, they'll either score it or they'll kill whatever you put to contest it. Um, Interesting. You went to 200Ks. I thought you were considering dropping one. Yeah. So the list with the Rogue Trader Entourage, I only have one. I have one Grandmaster and one regular. But since I basically made the decision to go with the Storm Raven over the Rogue Trader Entourage, more or less, I just had the extra points to upgrade back to a Grandmaster Dread Knight. And I also kind of just wanted the Melta, but um, you for sure could swap it. The problem is, if you swap him, you only end up with 15, 35 points back, which is not even enough for a priest, unfortunately. So then you like the core of this list gets shaken up a little bit. Um, so that's why I'm kind of where I'm at right now with the list. Everything has a purpose here. My client actually was playing this list a while ago, and I played against him with it, and I was like, wow, that list basically list basically feels perfect. It's got a ton of really strong early game. It's got great mid game, and it's got really great end game. Um, if you could make it there, like the end game is essentially Crow, two Dread Knights. The mid game is Storm Raven, the two 5-man purifiers, and the early game is double interceptor, double Razorback strike squad. That's kind of like how I break the army up into basically three parts to get you through all the turns of the game. Obviously, if your opponent like all ins or whatever, that changes the tempo of it. But in a standard tempo-y game of 40K, I split my army up into those three parts and play the game accordingly from there. So, like I said, my the first wave of my army, if you will, I play basically Strike Squad, double Razorback, double Interceptors. That is like that is what I play with on turns 1 and 2, and I will avoid using anything else on my army unless my opponent really commits. Right? Then then you are going to gauge the game at like the bottom of two or whatever your third turn is or whatever, and like okay. Have we found an opening yet for the Storm Raven? And if that answer is yes, then you're going to send in the Storm Raven and have that do the play where you fly at 20, disembark 3, 6-inch deep strike 6, and go, rip the game apart from there. You would not have lost all of your interceptors and razorbacks by this point. You've lost some probably just because you're playing the game, but now you've got your purifiers, your storm raven, and whatever's left from your wave one kind of scattered around playing the game, and then by the time the dust settles from all of those plays, the board is going to be wide open for your Crow unit or your Grandmaster Dread Knights to drop in and basically focus down whatever target you need. Now, obviously, like if your opponent goes and does stuff before then you can look for other plays at that point. So that's kind of my little speech on why this list. I have a hard time making any adjustments to this list because I think it's like quote unquote perfect for how I want to play competitive 40K. Basically, is kind of like where I'm at. Let's take a look at some other granite lists. Why not? All right, so first guy, let's take a look at this Grey Knight list. So he's playing Banishers, a Chad, true Chad. I love me some Banishers list. So he's got Bro Champ for Advance and Charge, Librarian with 66 heal, Tech Marine, Crow, Nemesis Dreadnought, Venerable Dreadnought, um, Double Strike, Double Interceptor, all melee, Triple Interceptor, all melee, which I would say is correct and for the loadout for sure. Heavy Incinerator Side Cannon, I would give him a silencer, but incinerators are good for auto hitting, which I can respect. 5-man Paladin and a 10-man Purifier Squad. Seems like a solid list. Looks like he's got a solo tech marine to do stuff with, maybe buff the Grandmaster. No transports, which makes me sad. But yeah, seems like a solid banisher list. I mean, he'll probably do well with that. All right, here we go. More Warpbane. So he's got no Grandmaster Dread Knights. Very interesting. Actually, he has no Dread Knights at all. It looks like. So let's see. 1, 2, 3 strikes. 1, 2, 3 interceptors. 1, 2 purgation, and 30 purifiers. Okay, so this might be who won that GT, or it's a very similar list to who won that like really small GT with Warpbane. It's basically Power Armor Horde. Yeah, Power Armor Horde here. I respect the list. I have a hard time liking this, to be honest. I don't want to be like a hater or anything, but the tons of bodies like for me seems way better than Banishers. But this listed well at an event, so what do I know in terms of that, right? But yeah, this is a great tide, and I think he might do well at this event as long as he gets good pairings. And I think that's like kind of where you look at for that list is like, do you want to have do you have good pairings or whatever? Let's see what else we got. Next Granite list is another another Warpbane list. This one looks a bit more normal off the rip here. Triple GMNDK strike, triple Razorback, double Interceptor. Yeah, I mean this is very standard. Subductor Crutch, that's fine. Yeah, Recon. Basically, I think that for that like Gray Knight, Gray Tide list, that seems to be the hotness right now. So maybe I'll mess around with it a little bit, but it seems like you would want to attack with that into like a pairing that you want. The problem is, into a pairing that you want, they're not going to probably pick it, so you might end up on the back half, and then you end up into like Hull, and then like maybe it's really rough for you. But again, I haven't played that list or seen it play, so maybe I'm underestimating the kind of damage that I can do. But as it stands, I wouldn't personally want to take that to a big event at the moment, especially not singles. Maybe in teams, it's like that. It's definitely more like viable in teams. All right, Jacob. He's playing Banishers. All right. Quick overview of his strats, which I love. I love my Banisher strats. You got a Librarian, Crow, Venerable Dreadnought. I've been seeing that in a lot of. I've been seeing Venerables in a lot of lists. Yeah, what's up, Greg? How you doing, bro? Yeah, I agree. Should be a great event. You were who were you again? What army were you? I remember your name specifically talking about a list. Custodes, I think. Maybe Custodes? Custodes or Tau. One of the two. Greg, yeah, I'm definitely I'm more scared of the Tau. Definitely for sure. I don't know which one of those is you, but yeah, there you go. Cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll run it. I have you down as a 10, bro. I hope yeah, I think I have you down as a 10 for that pairing. Um, just gonna depend on the table, I think, but we'll see. I'm definitely not attacking you. I'm definitely not gonna attack you if you defend. That's for sure. Um, let's see. Let's see. Another granite list here. Let's see. This is I. Yes, for you too, man. We'll hopefully play at some point. I'll definitely say hi regardless. I'm excited. I don't recognize a ton of the people here, so I'll make some new friends hopefully. A lot of venerable dreadnoughts. That makes me very happy. I think almost like 2/3 of the granite list so far. I've had a venerable dreadnought. That's very cool. I love that little guy. He might be that. I know what. Hot take down in the future, he might not be in the channel mascot just because I love that boxy guy. Oh, 1 foot in the future and conjunctions. This guy is playing that's Augurium, I think. Agurium Task Force. I want to say. Yeah, yeah, cool. So he's got the I think +1 toughness up here, and then this is the move. Very cool. Let's see, he's rest of the list. Interceptor, Interceptor, Purifier, Purifier, Razorback Rhino. Yeah, cool. Hell yeah, I love someone rolling up with Augurium, baby. I love that. Augurium Task Force, very cool. And then there's me. We've talked about my list quite a bit. And that is almost all of the Granite players. We got Cody. He's on the same team there as Greg. Let's see. He's playing Warpbane, Triple Dread Knight, Strike, Double Razorback. See, one thing that um, I don't like. I don't really agree with no special weapons on interceptors in Warpbane. Basically, I just feel like you're fire evading with this unit, so like you want to have the most effective like guns on them as possible. Like I know our guns are trash, but like you know we certainly want to try and have better guns on these things. But that's a choice here. I don't mind it. Incinerators on the Crow unit, which is fine, and then double melee on the other two. And there's a Calidus for you down at the bottom. But cool. That's really all. The main thing I want to talk about today. Like, I think that at this point I'm rambling a little bit. If anybody's still in here and has any questions, I'll give it a second, and you guys are welcome to ask anything. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna hit the video and go play some Final Fantasy 11. Yeah, right, correct. I agree. Like, Warpbane, you want to have the most guns. I play Warpbane a lot like Tau, where I'm trying to um, just shoot, and I charge as like a last resort or to skirmish. Like, I really don't like to charge my Dread Knight or anything like that because that's kind of like how you get it killed. You know what I mean? And you don't want it to get killed. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'll open the floor up. We got 11 people still popping in. Like, if anyone has any questions or whatever, definitely now will be the time to ask them. Otherwise, I'm gonna close the stream. I'll give it a couple minutes. But this is really fun. I think I like doing this. Maybe I'll try and do like one of these a week, where I either play a game or just talk about Grey Knights or talk about Warhammer in general, where I have people pop in because it was a lot more fun to do this live. A lot more fun to do it live than talking to a camera and record it. Nah, bro, I play Final Fantasy 11, bro, from like 2000 like 2003. That's the game that I play. But yeah, I'll be posting like live events or live updates on the channel for the event. I really love to be best in faction. That's kind of the goal that I have for the event. But yep, that's it, guys. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Dustin, if you're still watching, I deeply appreciate you throwing out those memberships. And I will see you guys in some form of live update over the next few days. So thank you. See you later. Like and subscribe if you're interested in coaching. Hit me up on Discord, and if you want to support the channel, whatever, I have the little membership thing at the bottom. See you later.